good morning. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
Indeed. It's a Thursday morning. I remember somewhere I was seeing the grading of days. I mean, how people love days or their best days. Usually Friday is the first one. Thank God it's Friday. That's why we say thank God it's Friday.
Oh, okay.
And then next up on the list is Saturday. Then I think Thursday comes next. So that's what people say. It's almost Friday. So good morning and welcome. I hope you look forward to Thursday as much as I do. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Mauk Yusuf.
So what can we say? Thank God it's almost Friday, right? Well, welcome to Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. 11 days of Christmas, actually, Mark. So a lot to be thankful for today. I'm Kaidoki Kilu.
Well, that also, of course, if we are grading days, do we also grade dates of the month? Will the 25th day of the month be better than the 14th, which is today? Amaya Makide, good morning and welcome.
Well, who knows? Maybe it may depend on how people see it or what line of work they're in. Because some people just go ahead and, act like every day is Friday or almost Friday. But it is what it is. And over here, some data staring us in the face as we just take you through some of the dailies here today. Taking a look at the Vanguard newspaper, for instance, where you get to see 4 Nigerians hit 104 million ascribed to the World Bank. And so we always talk about how all of those policies that government has put in place, all they're putting in place, how do they measure the kind of results they're getting? Do they weigh it against what figures or what data? Maybe this might be one of them. So this ascribed to the World Bank, and if you look at some of the writers now, asks NNPC to publish accounts, revenue flow, NNPC earnings under scrutiny, Edun, eyes Nigerians holding large forex in domiciliary accounts, Industry Minister counters World Bank on power subsidy. Okay, so this, you get to see going back and forth. Of course, I mean, World Bank can give their, look, maybe we should just go back and take a look at some of these figures against our own data. And when I say ours, I'm talking about the states now, because a lot happens in states. So they should also be coming up with, discussing their data, going back and forth with their professionals or private sector in those states to see what are we doing, how do I measure my policies beyond all of those electioneering jargon and campaign, what are the figures that stare us in the face if they really mean it. So that's why that should be the case. But also, yesterday, remember we had talked about the price of tickets, aviation tickets. There's something here that may, you never know. Tinubu sacks FAN, NAMA, NSIB, NIMET, DGs. Suspends,
explaining there.
Suspends NCAA DG, removes NCAT rector. So, will we be going ahead of ourselves to think that this might just get some sort of, if not direct, indirect impact on what happens to those ticket prices, how they take off and stay mid-air, not ever landing. So, who knows? Mr. Keyamo has said previously at the time, look, you all have to behave. I won't lose my job because of you. But now, maybe this might be the wake-up call that ministry needs to ensure that everything is taken not as business as usual, business unusual. And by the way, he did say that from next year, 2024, airlines will begin to pay compensation to passengers for delayed flights or cancelled. I think cancelled.
So cancelled flights, yes.
All right. So that's Vanguard today.
Well, I'm looking at The Guardian here, and the story is very similar to what you see on the front page of the Vanguard, even though, I think what's very instructive on the front page of the Vanguard is that they're talking about poor Nigerians in general. This is not Nigerians living in multidimensional poverty. I mean, that's another category of people. And it will include even people whom you thought were average you'll be surprised that, there are aspects of your lives that are not poor. I think generally that measures like quality of life that, majority of Nigerians have. But when you talk about poverty in its very real sense, that's what the Vanguard is referring to. And it looks like the Guardian is also following on that particular story, because you're looking at national statistics. Population outgrows economy amid rising dependence, misery. That's the lead story right there. The Guardian has been focusing a lot on the economy of late, and I hope that somebody's paying attention to the trajectory of the stories that they have been bringing to the very fore. They've talked about how income, or will I say cost of living, has outgrown real income. These are real issues for everyday Nigerians, real issues for even people you think are doing okay. You'll be surprised just what exactly is happening underneath all of that, smooth sailing you're seeing on the very top. So somebody needs to be paying attention to what precisely is happening, and that's what they're looking at here again. Population outgrows economy amid rising dependence, misery. Nigeria in numbers, they have this infographic for you. 2012 to 2022, we recorded a 30% growth in 10 years. And there is a projection that will be from 216.78 million in 2022 to about 400 million Nigerians in 2050. The question is, how big are we baking our cake? Every time we present a budget, we look at the size of the budget, and people just look at the size of the numbers. But what they're not looking at is the size of the numbers relative to how many Nigerians there are. And there have been questions as to how it is that we're going to bring more money into that basket, not how everybody's going to take from the little there is. That's why there's a lot of desperation, it would seem. So right there on the front page, you have the story. You also have a number of other stories, some from the subnationals as well. Police neutralize 13 kidnappers, rescue 263 victims in Katsina. Then you also see that Tinubu sacked heads of aviation agencies. FEC approves 6.32 billion naira contracts. Is right there for you. And just in case you missed what happened in Rivers yesterday, they also have this. Fubara bears fangs, demolishes assembly complex, presents 2024 budget to 4 lawmakers. Yes, 4 lawmakers. That's what you find right there. Presents 2024 budget. So while there was a lot of focus and attention as to what was happening at the assembly complex, it's been pulled down, and there were reactions back and forth. Another activity was happening right there at the government house, where the budget for the people of Rivers State was being presented to 4 lawmakers. Well, he's not the only one presenting a budget. Sanwo-Olu presents 2.2 trillion naira 2024 budget to Assembly. Is right there. Lagos is also doing so. And there was a bank robbery yesterday. 3 feared dead in Ekiti bank robbery. No going back on concession of international airports. Teyamo insists. So just in case you thought you've had it all for aviation, no, you haven't. There's more for you on the front page of The Guardian. Let's leave it there for the paper.
Well, take a look at Business Day. I think we need to drive this message home. I think that's what Business Day, as well as other papers, are doing this morning. Take a look at how Business Day leads. APC losing war against poverty. So that's another angle to the story entirely. And you understand why the APC has been in power for 8+ years now. The writers tell more. 14 million Nigerians became poor in 2023. Those figures are coming from the World Bank. But take a look at the minister. Says, we're on track to stabilize economy, says Edum.
It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. On the one hand, the federal government at the time said we have 133 multi-dimensionally poor Nigerians, and of course Mokwe referenced that earlier. But now the World Bank is saying we have 104 million poor Nigerians. you may want to get the paper to get the context of that story.
And you know, this is really sad because we had a former president, Buhari, whom a lot of people said was pro-poor, was socialist, had a lot of interventions to target the poor and all of that. But apparently more people plunged into poverty, and we need to keep saying this because I think for a lot of people they've not really come to terms with that. And I'm talking about people in government and even people outside who still live as though you know, there's a lot of money in the bank and all of that, and we've seen series of examples.
You know, the challenge, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get some answers to that today. The challenge has always been that of collaboration between federal and state agencies of government, state governments. The former president said the only way we can get Nigerians out of the poverty bag is if we have collaboration with states. That's data from the NBS talking about the poverty figures said more than half of the population of Nigeria who are multidimensionally poor are in the north. We have northern governors, we have southern governors. So what are the collaborations that were supposed to happen that did not happen? Especially now that this president is saying that we have to collaborate with state governments for the health sector to thrive.
Some will say, do you need collaboration to budget right, not to overspend, not to pad the budget? But clearly, we need a 360 approach to this.
Don't forget that the budget is a law, and it is people that will execute it.
Exactly. But that is the story for Business Day. APC losing war against poverty. There are a couple of more stories, but I think that is heavy enough to digest. It might take some time digesting, but let's leave it there for Business Day.
Well, perhaps something equally significant is what you have on the front page of the Nigerian Observer today. It's a story that's been on for decades, well, depending on who is looking. FG takes universities, polytechnics, others off IP's platform. Who won?
It reminds me of what comrades or labor people say. They say, "Aluta continua, victoria assata." So the struggle continues, victory is certain. So is this a victory as a result of the struggle we've been seeing over the years?
Or one of the victories?
Or one of the victories. Or this is this is the setup, because a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, you need to be careful because the universities will be carrying more loads now. But that's where we are with
IPs. Even at that, I mean, because if the universities are making their money through remuneration, that the students are not going to be bringing as a result of the student loans, which is, I don't know, is that active yet anyway?
No, so not yet.
If they begin to pay all of that money into universities, automatically universities now have to begin to fend for themselves, right?
And then still remit 40% or what? Or still, what is that whole conversation? Don't forget, is it going to now be UTAS? I know the polytechnics say they have their own too. So will it be UTAS or another?
Let's now see how ASU will will hold the university systems accountable, and what now will be the role of the NUC. That's the Nigerian Observer this morning.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at since you've taken Vanguard newspaper, so Tribune. The lead story on the front page of Nigerian Tribune says, Rivers, legal issues arise as government demolishes assembly complex. So there are quite a number of items here. Sitting venue, quorum on front burner as 4 members witness Fubara deliver budget proposal in government house, Nigerian Tribune. And then Speaker declares seats of 27 lawmakers vacant. PDP writes INEC demands fresh elections into vacant assembly seats. Why we demolished assembly complex, Rivers government. And so you see all of that there this morning. FEC exempts tertiary institutions from IPs. So will this put an end to a lot of those strikes, protestations here and there? So who knows? NLC rejects proposed plan to restructure TCN, says it portends great danger. So what do they suggest then as way forward? Because I mean, quite a lot of people have spoken about how we need to ensure that the country has a lot more power supply, a lot more. And so yes, matters of economy all over the place. As a matter of fact, the CBN did say yesterday that they're blaming scarcity of banknotes on hoarding. Yeah, that's what the CBN said yesterday. So all of those who were saying they were not supplying the banks enough, let the banks, how much they even receive in the first place? But CBN says no, people are hoarding it.
Yeah, it was based on, I think the CBN governor spoke yesterday saying that it was because people, had the initial inkling that there was going to be the deadline for December, so people started hoarding, but that mercifully the Supreme Court has intervened. So all legal notes, all legal tenders are okay to use indefinitely.
What is wrong with people?
So why are we hoarding these notes? Please make it available.
Goodness me.
Please make it available and stop trying to give me some anxiety.
If you want.
That's not Christmas rice, neither is it Christmas chicken. You're holding chicken, I can understand. But money.
I don't get it. Don't invite Ambrose to your house by mistake.
Oh, well.
Careful what you wish for.
I sincerely hope that the reassurance would actually help people, who have hoarded this note spend it. Would that be all for Tribune?
Yeah, that's Tribune.
Well, I don't know what the World Bank is aiming at this morning, but I think that they're putting a light to something we've been hearing for a while. Daily Trust has this one. Stop subsidy payments. Yes, you heard that. Stop subsidy.
Wait, I didn't say, wait a minute, that it's a lie that it's been removed.
Oh, Chamberlain, I'm reading the Daily Trust as we are reading it.
Oh, boy.
Let's read it together. Stop subsidy payment. Increase petrol price to 750 naira per litre. That's according to World Bank. It says World Bank tells federal government wants increase in VAT, taxes for SMEs, advice on fuel price hike insensitive. That's according to dons. I imagine those are university dons. Subsidy removal hasn't brought expected gains in oil revenues. That's according to the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. I want to believe that's what OAGF means. So in this context, because I know AGF is also Attorney General, but we're looking at that. Subsidy removal hasn't brought expected gains in oil revenues. Fuel selling above 700 naira in Northeast. So you find details on page 4 of the paper. But that's the lead story right there. Stop subsidy payment. Increase petrol price to 750 naira.
Suddenly too many questions on that one.
Too many.
Maybe the body of the story. Did they bother about affordability?
Well, World Bank cannot be saying, because it's the same World Bank that said poor Nigerians hate what now? How many millions?
104.
104 million. You cannot be telling us how many people have now become
and then
poor.
You say make more people poor.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. So you don't run with the headlines. That's all I can say at the minimum. Don't run with the headlines. Pick up a copy of the paper.
Yeah.
And, read the details, read the context in which these statements were made.
Before you tell them to mind their business, understand what's going on.
Indeed. So page 4 is where you find details. Something to cheer. ASU excited as federal government exempts varsities, polytechnics, others from IPs. That's also there. Tinubu fires FAN, NCAA, NAMA, NCAT, NIMET, NSIB bosses, all at once. And then CBN suspends new requests for intervention loans. That story is on page 18. They also have the big story from Rivers State right there. Fubara presents a budget to 4 lawmakers, demolishes Rivers Assembly. It's a page 10 read for you. We'll leave it there for Daily Trust newspapers.
Right, so the right top corner of this Nigeria will give you reason why you should get the full story before you run to town. So take a look at this Nigeria. Nigeria to earn over 11 trillion naira from fuel subsidy savings by 2025. That's World Bank. So that's another angle to it. So if you're taking away subsidy entirely, it means perhaps you'll be getting more revenue, which naturally should be channeled into helping the poor and providing some buffer for them in an ideal situation, that is.
Well, yeah, someone said, okay, so the federal government, I think at some point earlier this year, 1 or 2 months ago, said the federal government had saved something in the region of 1 trillion naira or so from
removal or part removal of subsidy.
Someone said, so where is it?
Good question. That's a question of accountability and transparency. Where is it? Where's the money? But the big story on the front page of This Nigeria is on the rivers. I was going to say brouhaha, but really, I don't want to downplay that. The important issues playing out in River State and how you just wonder what's going on. Criticisms trail demolition of Rivers Assembly Complex. It's an act of treason, brigandage, lawyers others. Legislators can reconvene, sit anywhere, says Otubanjo. We shouldn't be here in the first place.
Even if legislators can sit anywhere, why do we need the State House of Assembly
in the first place? So we shouldn't rebudget billions of naira to rebuild it when we can just sit anywhere or do it virtually via Zoom. Exactly. Because as we said, and this is not the most buoyant times for us as a nation, and particularly as states, whether you're oil producing or not. There's a couple more stories, but there's one that is quite worrisome for me. And it is that one that says Cameroonian insurgents raise houses in Cross River community. So we literally crossed the border, raised houses. This is cross-border terrorism crime, and it's worrisome. Again, we've talked about how we've had terrorism in the northeast, a lot of them crossing over in the northwest as well. Now we're having it in the south. So this is a very, very big story that I hope that we're paying attention to. Page 20 of This Nigeria.
Well, the question you want to ask about that one, Kaude, is that the first time? Don't we have intelligence making? Anyway, Nigerian News Direct has this one on its front page. It's also another angle to that story from the World Bank. Import restrictions. Nigeria lost over $300 million to tax evasion. That's according to the World Bank. I'm struggling not to convert that in my head.
Your head has done it already. You're just trying to stop it. You've done it, I bet you.
Gosh. Anyway, let me hope that this is part of the jobs that the Oyedele committee has looked into and making recommendations. Recommends reduction of import tariffs to reduce cost of doing business and poverty level. Applauds fiscal reforms. Predicts decline in inflation by H1 2024. But I'm not sure if the next story right under that sub-story is any comfort. High interest rate, non-collateral interventions, others hindering recovery of 4.7 trillion naira debt. That's according to AMCON.
There was a talk about scrapping AMCON or not. I mean, the debt is rising, so what's the point? But hey,
especially when the organizations they took over aren't doing any better. Well, with the Nigerian News Direct this morning, we've come to an end of some of dailies this morning, but the issues are still on the lineup. Do stay with us. We're right back.